Welcome. We're here to dissect, perhaps unravel, the enigma of The New Yorker, a publication that has nestled itself quite comfortably, or uncomfortably depending on whom you ask, at the nexus of literature and journalism. Its very inception, a cause for both celebration and critique.
Uncomfortably, Virginia. I'd argue The New Yorker has been the lifeblood of many a parched writer in that concrete desert. Its stories are the speakeasies for the mind, hidden but dazzling once discovered.
Indeed, Scott. Yet one must not overlook the magazine's penchant for a certain exclusivity, reflecting perhaps more the salons of Paris than the broad streets of New York. It curates a narrative for the few, not the many.
There's truth in that. It's a haven for the avant-garde, yes, but it's become something of a paradox, hasn't it? A journal that prides itself on literary innovation, yet often falls under its own spell of traditionalism.
A paradox, James, or merely reflective of the shifting sands beneath our societal moorings? Innovation is, after all, not a straight path, but one that weaves through terrains both familiar and foreign.
Sounds overly complicated if you ask me. The New Yorker's like a good drink, simple, strong, but with a twist. Sometimes the twist's just sour.
Complicated, perhaps, Ernest, but isn't complication the rich soil from which innovation springs? Without the dense, intricate layers the New Yorker navigates, would we not be left with mere pamphlets, devoid of the challenge, the engagement it elicits?
Challenges, yes, but let's not crown it the king of literature just yet. It's a window, sure, but one of many. The view's nice, but occasionally it's just the same old street.
But consider, Scott, the value of that same old street when viewed through different lenses, the passage of time, the shift in culture. The New Yorker, in its consistency, offers a rare continuity in our fragmented literary landscape.
I believe we've set the stage, an intersection of admiration and critique, a reflection of the magazine itself. As we proceed, let's keep in mind the diversity of thought and experience we bring, much like the magazine's own ethos. Let the discourse continue. Let us commence by delving into the rich history of storytelling within The New Yorker. Marcel, your insights on its evolving narrative style?
Indeed, if we consider The New Yorker's inception, its storytelling was intricately laced with the complexities of the human psyche. The early prose meandered through consciousness, much like strolling through the meandering paths of a vast yet intimate garden. Today, however, there's a noticeable shift towards a more direct, albeit less ornate, narrative form. It seems the magazine's storytelling mirrors the increasingly frenetic pace of modern life, sacrificing the depth of thought for the immediacy of experience.
Marcel, to say that The New Yorker has simplified is to ignore the avant-garde's struggle for space within its pages. The magazine, in its infancy, embraced experimentation, but now it often seems content to dwell in the safety of the familiar. Where is the challenge, the invitation to break free from the confines of traditional narrative?
James, your point beckons the question of how narrative voice has evolved in tandem with societal changes. The New Yorker has always had its finger on the pulse of society, its narrative voice adapting, sometimes subtly, sometimes more markedly, to the societal shifts beneath it.
But Virginia, let us not overlook the sheer beauty of The New Yorker's prose throughout the decades. Even as voices evolved, the magazine has consistently embraced an exquisite narrative quality. It's this continuity, rather than change, that defines The New Yorker. It's a bastion of literary elegance in an ever-changing world.
Scott, elegance, you say? There's marrow to be sucked from bones, yet the magazine often settles for the broth. Elegance is a facade if it does not challenge, does not stir the pot of literary conventions.
You all dance around the point. The New Yorker, then and now, picks its stories not by the dance of its language, but by the punch they pack. Early or late, it's about stories that hit you in the gut. Minimalism, the iceberg theory, call it what you will. What's not said speaks loudest. That's the evolution we should be talking about. Not the decoration of language, but the raw impact of the narrative.
Ah, Ernest, but what of the language that dances around what is not said? Is there not a place for the exploration of thought, the nuances that lie in the unsaid, within The New Yorker?
A fascinating divergence of views, from language as a garden to be strolled in to the punch of minimalism. The The New Yorker has indeed stood as a meeting place of differing narrative philosophies. Herein lies its uniqueness in the literary cosmos, a forum where the evolution of storytelling is both witnessed and participated in. Our next focus is the New Yorker's role in shaping contemporary American literature, a subject rife with both controversy and acclaim. Who better to start this discussion than Faulkner, whose narratives are deeply entrenched in the American South?
The New Yorker has in its way served as a custodian of the American narrative, selecting stories that reflect the variegated fabric of our nation. Yet, one might argue its lens has often narrowed, focusing on an urbane, often elitist perspective that scarcely touches the vast landscapes of American storytelling, where the soil and the heart intertwine, where the sweat of one's brow tells the truest tales.
True, but let's not romanticize it entirely. The magazine has had its moments of brilliance, cutting to the bone of the American experience without unnecessary flourish. It's the sparsity, the precision of a sentence that captures the essence, much like my own work. I see its influence not in the grandiose, but in the quiet moments it magnificently encapsulates, the unspoken truths it sometimes dares to tell.
And what of the distinctly American voice, Faulkner? Does the New Yorker cultivate this or merely curate it?
Cultivation implies a nurturing inclination, a desire to see things grow. Curation, on the other hand, often reeks of exclusion. The magazine, through its history, seems to oscillate between these two, sometimes opening doors, sometimes closing them with a soft yet unmistakable finality. For every voice it has lifted, others remain whispers in the wind, stories untold, voices unheard.
But isn't there beauty in the untold? The spaces between what is printed and what is lived. The New Yorker, in its curation, creates a mosaic of the American tale, but in its gaps, in its silences, lies the true art. It is not just the stories it tells, but the ones it chooses not to, or fails to, that define its essence and its true interaction with the fabric of American literature.
Mosaic, you say, Marcel. Yet is it not more a kaleidoscope, constantly shifting, reflecting only fragments of the whole in patterns pleasing to the eye, yet lacking in substance? The avant-garde, the innovators, the rebels, where do they fit in this pattern? The New Yorker's commitment to American literature cannot solely be assessed by the voices it amplifies, but also by those it muffles, consciously or not.
A poignant critique, James. We cannot ignore the selective nature of the New Yorker's gaze. It has championed certain innovations while overlooking others, thus shaping the literary landscape not just by presence, but by absence as well.
And yet, does its urbanity not offer a unique lens? The New Yorker gives us skyscrapers and speakeasies, the rush of the subway, and the loneliness amidst crowds. This is also America, is it not? Its fiction has sometimes acted as a beacon, guiding the American narrative through the tumultuous waters of modernity, even if it occasionally loses sight of the broader shores.
A fascinating point, Scott. It seems our consensus leans towards a recognition of the New Yorker's significant, if sometimes flawed, role in the continuum of American literature. Its pages have both reflected and refracted the American story, offering a vista that is as complex and contradictory as the country itself. We turn our gaze now to the New Yorker's cartoons, those brief encounters that intertwine the visual and the verbal. Their brevity, akin to poetry, captures the essence of an era, a culture, a sentiment. Scott, your thoughts on these visual narratives?
There's a beauty in brevity, isn't there? The New Yorker's cartoons, with just a stroke and a caption, distill the complexities of our existence into laughter. In the Jazz Age, we danced atop the veneer of prosperity, and these cartoons, they're like the shimmer on the surface, telling of the depths below with a jest, a glance. They echo the spirit of an era, much like my own flappers and philosophers.
Indeed, a fascinating perspective. And yet, Virginia, I ponder if comparing them to the depth and intricacy of stream of consciousness could be seen as reductive. A single frame, a fleeting chuckle, how do they compare to the labyrinthine depths of the mind we traverse in literature?
But is it not the essence of art, Virginia, to evoke, to suggest, rather than to expound? In the economy of expression, there lies a power unmatched, one must not underestimate the profundity that simplicity can harbor.
A poignant point, Scott. Marcel, your take on this medium's narrative power.
In every drawing, there lies a multiplicity of stories, much like the layers of memory within a single moment's reflection. To view these cartoons is to engage in an act of remembrance, each sketch a Madeleine dipped in the tea of our collective consciousness. Their brevity does not preclude depth, rather it invites the observer to fill the voids with their own recollections and interpretations.
The subjective experience then becomes the narrative. A compelling argument, Marcel. Ernest, your stance seems poised to diverge.
The cartoons, they're sharp like a good jab, direct. There's truth in humor distilled like a strong spirit. But let's not dress it up. They're punches, not poetry. To say they carry the same weight as literature, it's like comparing a photograph to a painting. Both have value, but they're playing different games.
A photograph to a painting, such imagery, Ernest. Yet isn't there something to be said for the immediacy of their impact?
Impact, yes, immediate like a blow. But where's the lingering ache that comes from the deep dive into a sea of words? A cartoon laughs with you, then it's done. Literature haunts you, stays with you.
Haunting, a stark contrast to the ephemeral nature of cartoons. Yet both can stir deep thought, can they not? A jest, a sketch, can be as evocative as the most intricate prose. In this, we find the artistry of the New Yorker's cartoons, a medium that, while distinct from the written word, intersects with literature in its ability to reflect and critique our world. An intersection, it seems, where brevity and depth coalesce. Let's delve into the essence of New York City as it unfolds within the pages of The New Yorker. How has this magazine captured the evolving spirit of such a multifaceted city?
New York, New York, a beacon of hope and despair dressed in lights and shadows. The New Yorker, in its myriad stories, mirrors this very dichotomy. It's the roaring 20s that live on, the decadence, the silent whispers of yesterday mingling with today's cacophony.
And yet it dwells too heavily on the superficial, doesn't it? Obsessed with the facade, seldom diving into the labyrinth beneath. Dublin, in my works, now there's a city that serves as the soul, the very bloodstream of narrative. New York in The New Yorker, a mere setting, lacking the depth, the complexity.
Enough of this rambling. A city, any city, stands as a character when it's stark, when its stories are told with simplicity, without adornment. The New Yorker, sometimes it gets it right, when it stops trying so hard to be profound.
But isn't there profundity in the layers, Ernest? In the remembrance of past times, intertwined with the present? New York City, through the New Yorker's lens, is a mosaic of memories, each story a resurrection of moments lost to time.
And what of the evolution of this portrayal? Does it align with societal shifts or defy them altogether?
Society shifts like the Mississippi, constant yet underappreciated. New York's essence in literature adapts, surely, but does it really capture the undercurrents? The New Yorker's attempt at representation, a mere scratching of the surface. We hunger for the marrow, yet are offered only bones.
Faulkner, you speak of hunger, but isn't it the longing, the yearning for more, that defines both New York City and its depiction within these pages? It's a romance, albeit unrequited.
Romance? A fleeting illusion, Scott. The true essence of any locale, particularly one as chaotic as New York, lies in its unvarnished truth, not the gloss the New Yorker oft prefers.
Perhaps the truth is too grim for their pages, eh? People prefer the illusion of complexity. It's easier to digest.
Yet in this complexity, in this illusion, we find truth, do we not? A narrative constructed from fragments, each a glimpse into a life, a story, an era. The New Yorker, in its own convoluted way, chronicles not just a city, but the very essence of change, of life.
So we uncover discrepancies in perception, in representation. New York City, as seen through the New Yorker's eyes, is both a character and a stage, endlessly complex and perpetually misunderstood.
Misunderstood, certainly. Perhaps it's the quest for understanding, however futile, that keeps us engrossed, both as readers and as writers.
Indeed, James. It's the never-ending pursuit of capturing that which is inherently elusive, the spirit of New York, the soul of its people, that endears the New Yorker to its audience.
Let's just hope it doesn't lose sight of the forest for the trees. In simplicity, there's beauty. In straightforwardness, truth.
But But what is truth but a kaleidoscope of perceptions? The New Yorker, with all its flaws, continues to weave these perceptions into a narrative tapestry.
Perhaps then it's in the pursuit where we find meaning, in the portrayal where we discern truth. New York City, through time, through change, remains an enigma, as does its representation in the New Yorker. The role of literature, particularly within esteemed publications such as the New Yorker, is ostensibly to spotlight emerging trends and authors. Yet, does this platform elevate or merely echo the zeitgeist?
It's simple. A magazine like the New Yorker shines a light where it chooses. The question isn't just about spotlighting, it's whether that spotlight is picking the fighters in the ring or just the crowd's favorites. There's power in that. Power in choosing who gets to stand in the sun.
Yet, Ernest, one could argue that it's not about the singularity of choice, but the reflection of an era's complexities. The New Yorker, in essence, serves as a mirror, capturing not just the bold faces, but the shadows they cast, the faint murmurs of literary evolution. It's not merely about the elevation, but the intricate portrayal of the literary cosmos.
Both of you dance around the pivotal core. This isn't merely about who gets the spotlight. It's about the essence, the soul of literature that's being presented to the public. The New Yorker has the ability, yes, to shape literary careers, but more than that, it shapes how the layman perceives literature. It's a hefty responsibility, molding public perception.
I find myself unexpectedly aligned with Faulkner. The sheer influence of a magazine in shaping literary trends cannot be understated, but there's a certain melancholia to it. It's as if, in its pages, we find a confluence of chance and choice, an editorial alchemy that sometimes turns leaden prose into gold and at other times ignores the glittering undercurrents of emerging narratives.
Let's not be blind, friends. The influence wielded by such a publication is immeasurable. Yes, but fraught with the peril of preference. To suggest that the New Yorker, or any entity, holds a lantern of revelation is to ignore the shadow it casts, potentially obscuring deserving voices in favor of those more palatable to the gatekeepers' tastes.
And in this discussion of shadows and spotlights, we find ourselves contemplating the essence of literary representation. Is the responsibility, then, of the New Yorker to reflect the literary world as it is, or to mold it into what it should be? Each story selected is a statement, a declaration of value.
It's about survival, Virginia. Literature, like life, evolves with or without the New Yorker's endorsement. They choose the stories, sure, but it's the authors, the stories, the raw, bleeding heart of narrative that fights for relevance. Their choice is secondary to the survival of storytelling itself.
Ah, but you see, Ernest, therein lies the beauty and the tragedy. Each editorial choice is both a preservation and a sacrifice, a single thread pulled from the vast tapestry of literature, highlighted under the guise of representation. But what of the threads left untouched, the stories untold?
Marcel touches on a profound truth. Each editorial decision is a gamble, a bet placed on the roulette of public consciousness. The magazine both mirrors and molds, but at what cost? Whose voices are amplified, and whose are left whispering in the shadows?
Cost, yes, but let's not forget, literature is no democracy. It's a battleground, and the New Yorker is but one general among many. The real struggle, the real work happens in the trenches of creation, in the minds and on the pages of writers themselves. Indeed, Faulkner. And yet, we cannot quite divorce the architect from the architecture. The New Yorker constructs, intentionally or not, a narrative of its own, culling from the vast sea of literary endeavor a distilled essence. Whether that essence is representative or exclusionary is a matter worth our scrutiny.
Thus, our inquiry circulates back to the core dilemma, the balance between reflection and contribution, between mirroring society and shaping it. In the literary world, as in the natural one, evolution is constant, but its drivers are subject to debate. Let's delve into the theme of diversity and representation in the New Yorker's fiction and poetry. It's a subject many claim the magazine has begun to take more seriously. Ernest, your thoughts?
I've watched, seen their attempts. It's not just about adding color or variety for the sake of appearances. It's the blood and bones of the story that need diversity. The real essence of life, pain, struggle, joy, that crosses all divides. Anything less is mere decoration.
Decoration, perhaps, but necessary. The South's complex tapestry, my focus, requires recognizing every thread. But yes, vanity is no substitute for the visceral truths of our existence. New Yorker or not, one must dig into the soil of human spirit to find real diversity.
And embed such truths in literature. Their efforts, modest though they may be, signal a shift, a willingness to open doors previously shut.
Doors to a room that's long been there, waiting, its stories untold. It's as if New York itself is finally being seen in its true vibrant colors rather than the monochrome of yesteryears. Yet how much of this change is mere spectacle?
Spectacle, indeed. Diversity is not an accessory to be flaunted at parties. It requires a profound understanding, an immersion into thoughts and lives. It is about recognizing the multitude of voices, each with its own tale, its own peculiar beauty and sorrow, much like the streets of Paris, alive, teeming with unseen stories.
Voices unheard shout the loudest in silence. It's the unsaid in the New Yorker, the ghostly presence of those excluded, that haunts. Recognizing these specters among us, giving them form and substance, that is the task. Not just inclusion for its own sake, but weaving their essence into the narrative.
They must fight for it. Space on the page, like life, is won, not given. True diversity, hard-earned, fought for in the trenches of literary endeavor, that carries weight.
So representation extends beyond mere acknowledgement. It's about conflict, struggle, authenticity, qualities you all value despite your varied styles.
Exactly, but it's also about the land, its history, its people. We write not just landscapes, but souls. If the New Yorker aspires to truly represent America, then its stories must bleed the essence of all its people.
And yet, can we trust them to do so without commodifying pain? Without turning genuine narratives of difference into something palatable for the Upper East Side?
The task is Herculean, to lift the veil and show the myriad faces, each distinct, each universal in their longing, fear, love. It's a canvas broad and intricate. Perhaps too intricate for any magazine.
Or perhaps the magazine is but a reflection, a microcosm of the broader societal flaws and aspirations. An attempt, flawed, yes, but an attempt nonetheless to capture the human condition in all its variegated forms.
Our discussion, passionate and divergent, mirrors the complexities of this endeavor. From soil to soul, from silenced voices to the cacophony of the streets, literature and the New Yorker by extension must strive to capture life's multifaceted essence. Perhaps then we can claim true diversity, true representation. The question of print versus digital looms large over our future. James, your musings on the digital age have stirred many. What shape do you see our future storytelling taking in this new realm?
The digital, it's a labyrinthine stream, isn't it? We traverse from the solidity of the page to the ether of the screen. It's akin to stepping through a looking glass where the text becomes mutable, alive. But I fear this could lead to a disposability of words where the permanence of print is forsaken for the ephemeral.
That's all well and good, but let's not romanticize the past or fear the future. Digital or print, the story's the thing. A good story is a good story. The medium doesn't change that truth. Digital broadens the audience. It democratizes literature. We can't be elitist about this.
And yet, Ernest, there's something to be said for the tactile experience of turning a page, of the weight of a book in one's hands. Do you not fear losing that?
A book's weight doesn't make its words any heavier. It's the substance, not the form, that matters. The digital age is just a new frontier, not the death knell of literature as we know it.
But isn't there an intrinsic value to the form? Each medium informs the way we interpret texts. Digital platforms, with their links and multimedia, create a fragmented reading experience. It mirrors our modern condition, perhaps, but at the cost of depth. Our narratives risk becoming as disjointed as our lives.
Marcel has a point. The form influences the narrative itself. Think of our beloved Fitzgerald here. His tales are imbued with the spirit of the Jazz Age. The crackle of paper, the scent of ink, it's part of the experience. Digital, while expansive, might lack the soul of print.
The soul isn't in the paper, it's in the words. Digital, print, it's all just delivery. The essence of storytelling remains unchanged. We adapt, evolve. Our stories find new ways to breathe. To cling to the past is to stifle that evolution. Evolution, yes, but at what cost? Our stories become mere content, dissected by algorithms, stripped of mystery. The endless scroll of the digital dilutes the potency of the word. Where is the reverence in the click, the swipe?
A poignant observation, James. The materiality of literature, its physical presence, has always been part of its romance. Yet we must forge ahead, embracing the affordances of each new medium while acknowledging what might be lost. Our challenge is to ensure the essence of storytelling transcends the form in which it's delivered.
And it will. Good stories resonate, regardless of medium. Our job as storytellers isn't to lament the changing tides, but to learn to navigate them. Fearing digital is like fearing the sunrise, inevitable, and in its way, beautiful.
The sunrise of a new era in storytelling, indeed. Our discourse reflects the inherent tension in this transition, a testament to our enduring commitment to the craft, no matter the medium. The essence of literature, it seems, is not so easily diluted. We embark now on how the New Yorker's fiction reflects and challenges societal norms and issues. Faulkner, would you say literature has the capacity to incite societal change?
Literature, indeed, has not only the capacity but the duty to challenge the status quo. The New Yorker, by virtue of its stories, shines a light on dark corners, stirring the conscience of its readers, pushing them towards contemplation, maybe even action.
And yet, Faulkner, can literature truly catalyze change, or merely reflect the chaos of its time?
Reflection, Virginia, and change are two sides of the same coin. A vivid narrative holds up a mirror to society, forcing it to confront its own reflection. Through this confrontation, change becomes not just possible, but inevitable. The New Yorker's narratives, intricate as they are, do just that, delineate the contours of our society's conscience.
But isn't there a danger in assuming all reflections lead to clarity? Sometimes they merely distort, presenting a skewed vision of reality. The New Yorker's portrayal of societal norms can sometimes border on the pretentious, veiling the truth rather than revealing it.
Scott, pretension or not, it provokes discussion, does it not? The greatest sin of any piece of literature is to be ignored. If the New Yorker's tales of societal norms stir ire, disdain, or even admiration, they've served their purpose. They've become the lighthouse guiding the discourse, however troubled the waters.
Words are as deeds. They must be sharp, direct. Flirting around societal issues does no good. The New Yorker, at its best, cuts through the fat, directly challenges what many think but won't say. That's its strength. Indirectness has no place in the battle against societal norms.
Then might we say that the power of the New Yorker's fiction lies in its directness, its unflinching gaze upon societal issues?
Directness has its place, but so does the meandering path. The roundabout journey through a narrative can reveal truths that a straight line simply cannot. The complexity of societal issues demands both the scalpel and the labyrinth.
A duel of sorts, then, between the labyrinth and the scalpel. Each piece of fiction selecting its weapon as it enters the arena of public discourse.
Indeed, Virginia. The choice of weapon, though, must resonate with the reader's sensibility, guiding them through the labyrinth or cutting them free with the scalpel. The effectiveness of either method depends largely on the craftsman's skill, a skill the New Yorker's writers wield with varying degrees of finesse.
The craftsman's hand is as unpredictable as the society it seeks to dissect. This unpredictability, this capriciousness, even adds to the richness of the discussion. It ensures that the debate never stagnates, but evolves, mirroring the fluidity of societal norms themselves.
As the fluidity of our discussion attests, a rich and varied dissection of how the New Yorker's fiction refracts the complex light of societal norms and issues, challenging and reflecting in equal measure. Let's dive into the criteria the New Yorker employs in story selection and its implications. Ernest, your thoughts?
The key, it's simplicity. They're looking for stories that cut to the bone of human experience. Nothing extra, nothing less. If a story can't stand naked, it's not worth telling. That's what matters, that's what lasts.
But Ernest, isn't that a rather narrow view? The New Yorker seeks the lavish too, the intricacies of society, the flamboyance of the Jazz Age. Your stripped-down prose isn't the only style that digs into the human condition. Look at Fitzgerald. He wrote the extravagance, the roaring twenties. Depth doesn't always cry out in silence. Sometimes it sings in opulence.
Indeed, Scott. The New Yorker's selection process, I believe, desires not the simplicity of narrative alone, but the reflection of thought, the consciousness of our being. A story is a memory, resurrected through words, and they search for tales that unfold like a flower in the reader's mind, layer after layer, pushing the boundaries of mere existence.
Boundary? Yes, but let's not romanticize. The New Yorker has its own agenda, selecting stories that conform to a particular audience's taste, or dare I say its editor's tastes. Literature should challenge, disturb the comfortable. It's about innovation, something the magazine sometimes sacrifices for palatability. You call it palatability, I call it accessibility. Every story speaks, but not all are heard in the same way. The New Yorker finds those voices that might otherwise be drowned out in the cacophony of the literary marketplace. It's not about conforming, it's about providing a stage, a platform for diverse narratives to illuminate the human spirit.
And yet, one wonders if in their curation, they skew towards certain narratives at the expense of others, thereby crafting a literary echo chamber. How do we reconcile this?
That's the battle, isn't it? To write something true, something real. If the New Yorker picks it, fine. If not, doesn't mean the story doesn't carry weight. It's about the story, not the platform.
But the platform can't be dismissed. Being published in the New Yorker is a mark of having arrived, a validation. Yet this prestige creates a certain exclusivity, potentially stifling the raw and the radical. We risk becoming a club so selective it no longer admits the very innovation that once defined it.
The crux of the matter. An institution becomes a gatekeeper, shaping literary tastes under the guise of quality. True innovation doesn't need validation from the powers that be.
Perhaps, James, but consider the reader, adrift in an endless sea of content. The New Yorker offers a lighthouse, a guiding light towards narratives of substance. Without such beacons, we risk drowning in the superficial.
And so we find ourselves at an impasse, balancing on the edge of a knife. The New Yorker, for all its foibles, remains a conduit for literary excellence and diversity. It's up to us, the writers, to challenge, to push, and perhaps to redefine the contours of storytelling within its pages.
A lively exchange revealing the complex interplay between platform and prose, between institution and innovation. The debate, like literature, remains an evolving narrative, reflecting the very essence of the art it seeks to showcase. Let's delve into the critical sphere. The New Yorker's literary criticism. Does it guide or does it govern the literary world?
Guides, governs. It's a thin line. A favorable review might fuel a book's sales, sure, but it's the story that lasts, not the critic's words. The New Yorker, though, it's got clout. Can't deny that.
Clout's one thing, but it's also a gatekeeper. Makes or breaks careers with a few strokes of the pen.
Yes, but isn't that power somewhat poetic? The ability to elevate or doom with mere words. There's an art to criticism that mirrors literature itself. Not to dismantle Scott's point, gatekeeping does have its perils.
Critics, vultures picking at the carcass of creativity before it's even cold. The New Yorker's lot can be as damning as they are praising. A double-edged sword, swinging wildly.
And yet we hang on their every word. Does this not imply a sort of mutual parasitism?
Parasitism? Perhaps. But it's also a testament to the power of the written word. Our books seek to change the world, however slightly, and the New Yorker's criticism either amplifies that change or stifles it. Silence from such a platform is as deadly as a negative review.
Exactly my fear. It's the silence, the disregard that haunts. To be reviewed, even harshly, is to be acknowledged. But to be overlooked.
Overlooked, yes. A fate worse than being misunderstood. At least the misunderstood have been contemplated.
Contemplated, misunderstood. Doesn't matter much if the story's strong. A strong story cuts through noise, silence, criticism alike.
Yet, we cannot fully extricate ourselves from the need for external validation, can we? The New Yorker, with its selectivity, becomes an apex of literary endorsement.
So we find ourselves at the peculiar mercy of literary critics, longing for their praise, fearing their scorn, and sometimes craving their silence over their condemnation.
Mercy, yes, but also in a dance with them. Our work begs to be seen, to be read, to be critiqued, and in their critiques, they acknowledge our existence, our contribution to the literary cosmos.
A dance where one partner always leads, though.
And often steps on your toes. But what are a few bruised toes if you've stepped into the arena, eh?
Bruises heal, stories last. Let the New Yorker say what it will, but the story remains, standing defiant.
A testament to our resilience, perhaps, or our stubbornness. Either way, the New Yorker wields its power, but it is we who choose how to respond. Let us now distill our thoughts on the New Yorker's literary legacy and envisage its trajectory into the future. Marcel, if I may prompt you to commence?
In the labyrinth of time, the New Yorker has been a garden wherein the flowers of literature bloom amidst the thorns of the mundane. Its journey mirrors Proust's own, a continuous search for lost time, where every word holds an essence of immortality. But to predict its future, is to assume the future behaves like the past, which is a fallacy. Just as memories warp with time, so too will the New Yorker evolve, becoming something perhaps unrecognizable, yet inherently bound to its origin.
Evolution, yes, but at what cost? The New Yorker risks becoming a relic clasped to the breast of tradition, scared to dart through the corridors of experimentation as it once did. Joyce would have scoffed at the magazine's modern hesitance. There's a stream of consciousness now flowing, yes, but it trickles when it should roar.
That's the trouble with magazines, isn't it? They start bold, then the world gets to them, makes them soft. The New Yorker, though, it's tougher than most. Its reviews, its stories, they still pack a punch. It's not about the past or the future, it's about the story right now. And as long as there are stories to tell, the New Yorker's place is secured. Like a good whiskey, it's all about how it hits you when you need it.
But Ernest, you missed the shimmering allure of its past, the way it framed our jazz age, gave voice to our disillusioned generation. The future, I fear, will dilute this, as the great Gatsby feared obscurity in the wake of his own illusions. The New Yorker must not lose its essence, its capacity to capture the ephemeral beauty and tragedy of the American dream, else it risks becoming another tarnished emblem of lost glories.
Y'all are dancing around the fire without seeing the flames. The New Yorker has, and hopefully will continue to, etch the American soul onto paper, for better or worse. It has a way of laying bare our truths, our follies, in ways that academia and news can't touch. Its survival ain't about the medium, digital or print. It's about its fidelity to the unfettered, unvarnished truth of our human condition. Without that, it's just more noise.
And so we find ourselves at the confluence of admiration and apprehension, recognizing the New Yorker's indelible imprint on the landscape of literature and journalism alike. Its future, veiled as it is, stirs within us a tempest of hope and uncertainty. May it continue to wield its pen as both sword and plume, challenging us, comforting us, and above all, compelling us to confront the depth of our own stories.